Much excitement and speculation has greeted the departure of Klaus Schwab as CEO of the World Economic Forum, the organisation he founded in 1971. As one door closes, another one opens, however, and through it stepped Peter Brabeck-Letmathe, former chairman and CEO of Swiss multinational corporation Nestlé and long-term board member of the World Economic Forum, as Schwab's replacement pro tem. Schwab has long been caricatured and lampooned as having most of the characteristics expected of an archetypal Bond villain, only missing the white cat and the metal hand. And his replacement at the helm of the WEF is hardly a palate cleanse. Incoming Brabeck-Letmathe has a singular look as well and carries the baggage of years of controversy for Nestlé. Most notoriously, he has said drinking water is not a human right, but rather simply a resource like any other, presumably up for being treated as just another commodity to be sold for profit by whomever can control its supply. That's some pretty extreme thinking right there, I would say. So that in effect water is some sort of privilege bestowed upon the needy if they are deemed worthy of it. A person might wonder at the motivations of the WEF when it comes to what they call the optics, how it all looks. Is it just tone deafness, inability to read the room that would have them wave bye-bye to acquired taste Schwab and hello to another character who, it has to be said, has the look of yet another sharp-suited evil genius type, likely to be found inhabiting a lair at the heart of an active volcano, complete with shark tank? To put it mildly, the appointment of a second Teutonic knight straight from central casting appears to be deliberately and consciously to reinforce the image of a cold-blooded, heartless, elitist, anti-human organisation committed always and only to putting corporate needs ahead of those of ordinary citizens. Taking the mickey out of successive WEF chairmen might be distracting fun, but to me what matters much more is keeping an eye at all times on the undeniably sinister nature of the WEF in its entirety. For me, the WEF is the embodiment, the beating heart of the darkness of the globalist movement. The Club of Rome, the Bilderberg Group, the WHO, the UN and the EU are equally to be loathed and feared, I say, but the WEF, specifically its shop window gathering of the billionaires at Davos in Switzerland, is where the anti-humanists most shamelessly, indeed proudly, display their contempt for humankind. There, after all, is the font of the mantra about how us slaves should be looking forward to owning nothing and being happy. That our rights, needs and wants as human beings are evidently past their sell-by date in the eyes of Davos man and woman is plain to see all around us, is audible in the mood music piped into our lives. The attitudes of the anti-humanists are breathtaking and not limited to the WEF. This week in the UK, we read about plans to blow millions of our pounds on dim-witted plans to dim the light of the sun, a psychopathic bid to stop what we are told is runaway climate change. I say the climate crisis is a hoax, and hey, that's just my opinion, but I do wonder why so much money is being spent smothering the landscape with solar panels if the parallel plan is to diminish the energy available from the sun, that which those panels are supposedly set in place to harvest. Does that make sense to anyone? Anyone? Is that joined up thinking or just evidence that the powers that be have no regard whatever for the well-being of the planet and anything or anyone living here and are simply at it in a bid to make life unlivable for the proles? What could be more quintessentially anti-human than a bid to diminish the very source of life, to power down the power of solar in a solar system, indeed to usher in nothing less than a new dark age? But I digress. Back at the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, protege as he was of Henry Kissinger, the late US diplomat to whom was often attributed the infamous line about the potential of controlling the world and its people via control of food and energy, Prize pupil Schwab was always promoting on his own account what he called stakeholder capitalism. Those are weasel words, a bid to disguise the determination to take power away from the people and put it squarely in the hands of transnational corporates intent only on profit. Stakeholder capitalism is, by any reasonable definition, economic fascism. And look who loves that kind of talk. Back in 2023, Keir Starmer, now Prime Minister but then just leader of the Labour Party, was asked by a journalist which he preferred, Davos or Westminster, to which he unhesitatingly replied, Davos, quote, Westminster is too constrained, it's closed and we're not having meaning. Once you get out of Westminster, whether it's Davos or anywhere else, you actually engage with people that you can see working with in the future. Westminster is just a tribal shouting place. So there you have it. Starmer's fantasy, one of them anyway, is to cast off the constraints of a place where his ilk are answerable to we the people, in favour of fawning at the feet of the billionaires he'd prefer to work with, by which he really means work for. The WEF and Davos are candle flames for moths like Starmer. At the altar of such a man in such a place, Starmer felt untrammelled by any accountability to the people of Britain or anywhere else. He's hardly alone in that attraction. Last year, US politician, diplomat and sometime climate czar John Kerry was at the WEF when he declared the First Amendment, the freedom to speak that has been enshrined in the US Constitution, was, quote, a major block to the freedom of governments just to tell people what to think and what to do. It's well cosseted at Davos and the WEF that we see the true natures of those who are openly sick and tired of even having to pretend to pay lip service to a notion like democracy. Schwab's resignation comes 3 months after President Trump told the 2025 meeting in Davos that America is back. It also follows Trump and Elon Musk's Doge initiative, which ended US aid programs that hosed billions of taxpayer dollars into corrupt NGOs. I'd like to think, to hope, it might be the beginning of the end of the World Economic Forum. Once we're rid of that coven, perhaps we might look next to more loosening of the globalist chokehold around the necks of the peoples of the world. We live in a world in which some would like to see the literal darkness descend, and we would do well to rage against the dying of the light. The globalists need forever war to sustain their wealth, just as the neocons want the same to perpetuate their hold on power and control. Instead of just mimicking the accents and mocking the appearance of the stuffed-shut puppets placed at the helm of the WEF, we should endeavour to stand in the way of all those who by word and deed demonstrate that they hold the mass of the world's population in a position lower than that of the bugs the likes of Schwab would have us eat. The anti-humanists must be faced up to and stopped. I say again, there are real-world plans afoot even to block out the sun, to control the arable land and so the food supply, to control the energy, to reduce the population, and real-world plans for an all-engulfing war in what is supposed to be the Holy Land. The alternative to making a stand in the face of the globalists, as well as in the face of the neocons, doesn't bear thinking about. As the poet W.B. Yeats foresaw, the darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born?